Assalamu alaikum guys and welcome to my channel. You're watching C# New Features Series Part 1. Microsoft has recently released C# 10 and as part of that one they have released a couple of new features. You can see the list of newly released features on Microsoft website page. Here today we are going to talk about a new feature which is called Global Using Directives. To demonstrate this one, I will take an example of University Students Management System. To keep things simple, I will take only two pieces of information at this stage. One is students and other is semesters. In one semester, there can be multiple students and we are trying to store this information into the CSV file to keep the things simple so that you don't need to worry about data store. So let's jump onto the code and I will demonstrate this example and try to show how you can use global using statements in this example. I'm taking here a console application, and if you want to know the console application why it is looking so different, you can look at my previous video. It will tell you about the difference between the main method and without main method console application. So let's jump onto the code. So first of all, let's try to create a folder which will be storing our CSV file. I am giving name data and try to add two CSV files. Let's go to the general. I will select text file template and I will give you the name students.csv because we want to store in comma separated value format, and try to add another file, and this time give the name semester.csv. It will be multiple, so let's take plural. Yep, so here we got our data files. To save time, I have already prepared some data, so let's copy paste. So here we got ID, name and semester ID, as it is one-to-many relationship between students and semesters, so I need to store semester ID as well. Let's copy semester data as well. Here you go, semester data. So in this example, I'm taking 8 semester, assuming it's a 4-year course, right? And taking IDs with the series of 100, so 101 till 108. And I have taken couple of students name like Amir, Rais, John, Dipti, right? And the ID is starting from 1 to 4. So here we got our data files. I'm closing these two. Now the next thing, we need to start reading these two files. To do this, I will be using repositories patterns. So I need some class to read these two files. So let's say students repository. Here you go with the students repository file, and I have already created code for the students repo as well. So copy, I'll just do copy paste and then take about the code, just using the namespace according to my project, right, and delete auto generated code. Here I need to add namespace for my DTOs. I will add it shortly. First of all, let me create another repo. sorry, I click on the solution, so I need to select project. So let's add another class, say this semester repository, and try to add code for semester repository. Again, I'm just rectifying the namespace and removing auto-generated code. Right, so till now we do have our data files. We are reading into the repositories. I am going to explain this piece of code shortly, but even before that we need to hold this data into some sort of entities, and for those we need I'm just creating a new folder here, entities, entities, and let's create two data objects here. One is to hold semester data and the other one is to hold student data, right? So let's try to copy these two. Yep, here you go. So the student class, and the next one is semester. Let's copy semester object as well. I'm trying to save all the objects. So far we have created our data store, which is our CSV files. Then we do have our entity objects, which is semester and student, right? Oops, sorry, I do not want to move these files. And then we do have repositories which are trying to read these data into the entities object. Now here let me explain one object, one repository, the other one is exactly the same. So I need to rectify, I don't want to pluralize the student's name, so student repository, right? So guys, what we are trying to do it here, I'm trying to read these files because the student CSV in .NET 6, when the code is compiled, it will be under the .NET 6 folder. So the exe will be within .NET 6 folder, and from there you have to navigate back into the debug and then bin, and then from bin to one more step back, and you have to look into the data folder, right? And in the data folder we do have a file students CSV, which you can see here. So it's trying to get the path, right? That's a relative path. And then what it is trying to do, it's trying to create a list of students object here, right? And reading all the lines. So if you use file object, right, system.io name under the namespace of system.io, so it will read all the files from this path and it will give you the data. Now what I want to do, I want to clean data. What does it mean? So it means, if you go to the data file, so you can see in the data file there the first row is header row, ID, name and semester ID. I don't want this one. I just need only data, which is this part, right? So go back to repo. I'm skipping first row, whatever the data we do have read, right? Next, what we are doing, we are trying to read every line and process information and populate into the students collection. So what I need to do here, as we know, this is a comma separated values, so we need to split each line to retrieve each value into fields. So I have split it on the comma, that's my delimiter, and then I'm trying to create a student record. Because it's a text file, so it will be a string, so I'm converting into integer because id is integer. The second field will be the name, and the third one again integer because that will be the semester id. So in this way I will populate this collection for all the lines within the file and then return it. Here you can see the red mark, that means the namespace is missing for students. So let's try to fix this one. I can see the namespace for student entity is global using statement dot entities. If I click this one, then it will add the namespace on the top. So now all the errors has gone. Let's save this one and now move to the semester repository. In the semester repository, it is exactly the same code which I have just explained. The only thing is it's trying to populate data into the semesters object, semesters collection, right? So it's reading ID and semester name. Here you can see we need to resolve this one as well. So let's try to add entities namespace on the top. So guys, you can see we have read data successfully in repositories. Now what we need to do, we need to display this data on our console application. First of all, let me see if there are any errors at this state. No, all good. So looking pretty good. Now what we need to do, we need to display all the content on the console application. So let me copy the code base here. I'm removing this one. So that's the code within main method, as we have explained in the last video. I will add the link into the description so that you can look into those one if you want to. So guys, what I need to do, I need to add a student repository namespace as well, which I have added here. Let me remove this one, and now here you can see everything looks nice and clean. So what we have done, we have created a students repo object, semester repo, and we are trying to retrieve all the students in students collection, and we are trying to retrieve semesters collection. All right, I am trying to add a heading here, the header, which is I want to display ID, name, and not semester ID, I just want semester, right, for each student. So I'm iterating on the students collection, and on the first line within this loop, what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to match semester ID within students collection with the semesters ID so that I can retrieve name of that semester. So I'm trying to get the object which I got at semester, and then in the next line I'm trying to display all the values for ID, name, and here I want to display semester name because I don't want ID. So let's try to run this one and then see. Oops, it is not happy. What it is complaining about? Okay, let's try to see this one. I think I know what's the issue. Actually, I have used plural name and I'm trying to read semesters. So let's try to fix this one. The same issue is here. Now here I'm using plural. Hopefully it should be fixed now. So here is the output. You can see I can display ID, name and semester for each student, and it's the same sequence. Amir and Rais, they are part of first semester. However, John is part of second semester and Dipti, she's part of third semester. So we are able to successfully display our student management system, so student records. Now let's come to our main topic and why I want to take this example. Here you can see now we have at least a sufficient amount of code where we are using namespaces in couple of files. Let me close all and then see. Here you can see on the repository we are using entities namespace on each repo. That's one of the reason I'm taking two repositories, right? And within our DTOs we are using we don't need this one, so I'm just removing unused namespace so that we can understand the topic clearly, right? So instead of using, so you can see I need DTOs, I need entities namespace on both repositories. So if I want to declare a common namespace which I'm using on multiple files in C#10, you have a new support for those kind of declarations. So you can declare in any one of the files. So there are a couple of ways. So I'm using the first way. So what I can do, I can go in any of the repository, and in this case I'm on student repository, and I can do global before the using statement, right? And that means now this namespace will be declared on top of each file by the compiler, right? So what I can do, I need to declare it only once, and you can see it's not required here. So I can comment out this one and then see if everything is working fine or not. Woohoo! So it's working fine. We can see the same output, and you can see clearly I'm not using any using statement to for the semester object in semester repository. However, I have used it in student repo. So let's try to reverse it back and then see. It should start complaining. Yep, you can see the errors, some warnings. So that means it is working. So this is the first way. Now try to move on to the second way. You can use this global using. So I can declare this one. Let me cut it from here, and I can go onto our main method, which is program, and then try to declare it here, right? You can see here we are not using any semester or console object here, sorry, semester or student object, but I'm declaring it here. I can do global, all right, and save it and then compile it. You can see the errors has gone. So that means this one is defined as here, but used implicitly in the semester and student repo. So that's the second way. The reason why I want to show it here, there is a one important takeaway from here. When you are displaying it here, you need to make sure it is on the the top line. So let's try to demonstrate this point. If I move it onto the second line, because in repositories there are not many namespaces. Here we are already using one namespace right? And if I declare global using after any other namespace, then it will start complaining. So it should be the top level using directive rather than second or third. So if I reverse the order, let me undo. Yep, so the error has gone. So that's an important takeaway. That's the second thing. So one is you can declare in any file on top of anything, right? And the second thing, it should always, one is you can declare in any file. The second is it should always be the top directive, right? So the first line should be the global using. So that's how it is defined. The third way, what you can do for the clean coding, you can create another class and you can say whatever the name you want to give. I'm giving here global directive, right? And I don't need any other code here. So what I can do, I can take this one here and just to make sure, yep, it's giving errors. So I'm adding all the global directives here in one file to keep the code simple and neat and clean. So that's another way, and then you can see the error has gone. So that's the third takeaway point. So you can define, if I will be doing it, of course I will be using this another class and declaring all the global namespace, global directives into one file to keep it easily maintainable. So that's the another takeaway point. Now the last bit, if you really want, you can define it at the project level. So on the project level, what we are doing, we are editing project file. Here what I can do, I can add item group. So that's the tag which I need to add it here, and within this one I can do sorry, I have already done it, so we can copy it, Control C, Control V. So whatever namespaces you want to declare on the project level, it will be apply on all the files. So I'm including it. Let me see what's the namespace. So that's my namespace. I'm copying it. Yep. And now what I can do, I can save it here. So in the item group, you can add using tags. So you can add as many namespace within item group as you want. And now you can see it's saying it's redundant. So you can remove unnecessary ones. So if I delete this one, and just to make sure it is accepting this one, I'm removing this one for now, just to show you guys. The project has failed, right? You can see the list of errors. Now I'm adding it here and try to compile the code again. You can see it succeeded and there should not be any errors in the error list. So guys, hopefully you have enjoyed today's video and you have learned something new in C#10. I will add the link for the console application differences. If you haven't seen my previous video, so you can have a look into that one. Hopefully you will learn something in the console application differences, and this is the global using directives. So please let me know how do you like it. I will request you to please, if you like my video, so please tell me in the comments and click on like, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.